So I don't have a lot of time right now, but given the amount of talk out there about this remake concerning Oblivion, and to a lesser degree Fallout 3, I felt somewhat compelled to offer my commentary on it, because all things considered, I'm reasonably excited about this prospect. Now, this is still a rumor. There are people online who seem to be reliable. This guy called Nate the Hate, who allegedly has been fairly reliable in his predictions in the past, and there appear to be a few other indications. Again, this is still a rumor, but if the rumors are true, we are going to find out officially about this potential remake of Oblivion within a very short amount of time, possibly next month, possibly May, possibly June. But the point is, it seems very likely that even as we speak, a remake of the famed Bethesda game Oblivion is being made right now. Now, a couple of points to be made here right off the bat. This is a remake. It's not a remaster. And more to the point, it's a remake being made in the Unreal Engine 5. And here's the interesting thing about this prospect of a remake in Unreal Engine 5 of Oblivion. We've actually never seen a Bethesda game in any engine other than in the Bethesda proprietary engine. This game will probably at the very least look pretty good. And on top of that, the studio that's allegedly working on this is called Virtuos. And historically, and they've been around for a while, about 20 years, they have worked on various things such as graphical upgrades, patches, this sort of thing. But more importantly and more recently, it has been made known that Virtuos is working on the remake of Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. And that game is slated to release later this summer, I think sometime in August. So, this studio, Virtuos, which is based in Singapore, though they're originally Chinese, has been steadily but slowly upping their game and improving the things that they do in video games in general. And part of me is somewhat confident in their ability to at least produce a product that looks pretty good. Because, again, Oblivion is almost 20 years old. It looks very dated, all things considered. Yes, you can use graphical mods and what have you, but it would just be nice to see what a game that is a Bethesda game would look like in Unreal Engine 5. The potential is definitely there to look very good. Now, based on the rumors, it's not just going to be graphical, visual improvements. The UI is going to be upgraded, you could say improved, depending on your definition of improved, to accommodate the younger generations, if you will. Various other skills are going to be changed, that sort of thing. I'm hoping, and this is just a secret hope of mine, that they also add kill moves to Oblivion, and maybe even perk trees like they have in Skyrim, because for all the flaws of Skyrim compared to Oblivion, I do think overall Oblivion is a better game, just in the context of being an RPG. The quests are better, the dialogue is better, the RPG systems are better in the sense that you choose your class, as it were, a combination of skills at the beginning, you choose your sign, and you kind of have to work with what you have as opposed to just playing any way you want, because despite that being a strength in Skyrim, it's also a certain weakness. It definitely detracts from the RPG elements. I'm hoping that they take the perk system in Skyrim and integrate it into Oblivion, but with the hard-coded RPG elements of the original Oblivion. But at this stage, we have no idea what the game is actually going to be like. These are just my wishes. Now, the other good thing about this is it's not being made by Bethesda, which seems like an odd statement to make, but hear me out. Bethesda has, in recent years, shown themselves to be, well, not exactly as good as they used to be, let's put it that way. They don't make games the same way they used to. The games, in general, are of lower quality. Their most recent showing, Starfield, is by far their weakest single-player game they've ever made. Fallout 4 was kind of meh, and so on and so forth. So, in a way, it's good that another studio is making this game, and perhaps even more importantly, it's not a Western studio. They're originally Chinese, but they're based in Singapore. And that tells us that maybe the normal parameters which sort of guide the typical Western developer are not going to be in place here, which means, who knows, we might get aesthetic-looking characters. We might get a game that legitimately looks good, and more to the point, we might get a game that overall plays well. Because if we look at the showings in recent years of studios from the East, specifically China, Black Myth Wukong, for example, you can see that they're not only perfectly capable of making quality games, they do make quality games, games that a lot of people love. So, in terms of a remake, a total overhaul of the old Oblivion in Unreal Engine 5 could be a very nice thing indeed. And for me, just personally, It has a lot of nostalgia value. We all know that Unreal Engine 5 is not exactly super mod friendly. And it begs the question as to whether or not typically Bethesda games made in their own proprietary engine, they're super mod friendly, they're all about the mods, how that's going to jive and mesh with a game made in Unreal Engine. Some people have proposed the idea that given the fact that Bethesda is all about having their games modded and it's an essential part of their games for a variety of reasons, they're going to insist that some modability is at least added to the game later. We just don't know. So that probably is the one downside to all of this. Other than that, a new studio, an Asian studio, better graphics, hopefully improved combat systems, improved dialogue, more voice actors, not the same voice actor voicing 200 gazillion different characters. These are the sorts of things that potentially we might look forward to. And on top of that, there are also rumors of a Fallout 3. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and be the freak, knowing that what I'm about to say is not popular, but personally, just personally, I prefer Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas. For a variety of reasons. Yes, Fallout New Vegas is better written. The story is better, the quests are better written, that sort of thing. It's Obsidian, right? They wrote a better game. And I can't deny that. But I like the desolation of Washington, D.C. I like that wasteland feeling that is much less pronounced in Fallout New Vegas. And who can ever forget Tenpenny Tower and Megaton? The fact that you can detonate an atomic bomb and just blow the thing to smithereens. And I still remember staying up late and exploring some of the tunnels, the subways with the feral ghouls. And it was a legitimate horror moment for me back in the day, hearing the sounds and then hearing them running towards you when it's late at night and you don't have the lights on. I mean, I'm not really a horror type of guy in terms of the games I play, but in terms of that feeling, it was definitely there. So I just have individualized personal memories of Fallout 3 that I'm very fond of. Now, regarding Fallout 3, we have a lot less information. We don't know what studio is working on it, but allegedly it too is being made in Unreal Engine 5, and beyond that we basically know nothing. Now, one big question remains when it comes to all this, and that is the question of how much involvement Bethesda, the makers of the original games, will have in this project. And if I had to guess, they're probably operating in some sort of advisory position. They're definitely not the ones making the game, we know that for a fact. Because ultimately, if you think about this, what is it? Obviously, it's a cash grab. It's a nostalgia-based cash grab, and I'm not going to lie, call it what you want, call it coke, call it whatever. I'm in for it. I personally am very much looking forward to this remake of Oblivion, and to a lesser extent, the remake of Fallout 3. Even though I'm much less of a Fallout guy, I prefer the Elder Scrolls, I am definitely down for this stuff. Is it a cash grab? Of course it is. Are they trying to suck you in and make you buy the game based off of nostalgia? Of course they are. But none of that has to mean that the games are necessarily bad or have to be bad, especially given the fact that Bethesda is not working on them. They're different studios. At least one of them is an Eastern studio. And these days, when I hear that it's not a Western studio, that is an automatic plus point in my book in terms of the quality of the games. I just have a lot of memories with these games, as I'm sure many of you do, even if you're younger than I am, romping through the world of Cyrodiil and romping through the wasteland of Washington, D.C. in Fallout 3. Now, I would also hope that these remakes incorporate all of the DLC, including the Shivering Isles and that sort of thing, because that would just be nice. One nice package deal put into one game. But ultimately, we're going to have to wait and see. A few more months, allegedly, and we might get to see some actual footage, or at the very least a cinematic, for Oblivion, the remake. Which leads us to the final point. Why are they releasing these games? Why did Microsoft insist on this? Well, the conspiracist in me would probably suggest that given the fact that Elder Scrolls 6 is so far out, it's 2028, 2029, maybe even 2030, maybe even 2031, in which case it would be 20 years since the release of Elder Scrolls 5, i.e. Skyrim. They obviously want something that people can chew on in the meantime and spend money on, because right now, Starfield, well, it didn't sell particularly well, and all you have is Skyrim, right? And people are really, really, really eager to get back into the Elder Scrolls. So what's the solution? A proper remake of Oblivion, and people get really excited, and that sort of thing, and they forget about the potential of Elder Scrolls 6, which, by the way, you have to be realistic here. I think there's no question that Elder Scrolls 6 will be an overall disappointment. If Starfield is anything to go on, if Bethesda is unwilling to listen to critique and criticism, sincere criticism, not just, for example, the lack of explorability, the emptiness of the planets in Starfield, if they're not willing to listen to constructive criticism, and they actively rebuff their customers, which they did do, you would literally have Bethesda employees go into threads and tell people, you're playing Starfield wrong, that's the reason why you're not enjoying it. And then you have actual writers and developers at Bethesda telling their customers off. If they cannot learn these important lessons and improve on the things that people want them to improve on, then, frankly speaking, Elder Scrolls 6, which is going to take place in Hammerfell, probably, as well as High Rock, is very likely going to be a disappointment to most people. Now, I am very busy at the moment, and I will be busy until the end of this month, so there won't be too many videos during this time. I apologize. I definitely want to put out more content. It's just not possible right now. But, as always, if you like my content, you like my takes, you can leave a like, you can comment, most importantly, you can subscribe to the channel. Because all of that helps the videos get out to more people, which improves the growth of the channel, which I appreciate a great deal. I will check you out in the next one. Until then, take care.